just recognize a few people and then we can get started. Mr. Richard Achampon is here with us. He's the Director and Head of the Office of the Speaker. Mr. Kofi Ator, Chief of Staff in the Office of the Speaker. Ambassador Magnuson, whom I just met, Advisor on International Relations and Diplomacy. Mr. Kofi Magnus Amwate, Parliamentary Counsel. Ms. Shiba Ose Afriye, Director, Protocols and Public Relations. Lord Michael Batwolku, and Mr. Justice Nova, Special Aid. So moments like this is when Academic City is at its proudest moments. When I first thought about what became Leadership Series, it was an attempt to expose our students at a very early stage on what leadership really means within the African context. When I left undergrad in 1996, one of the greatest takeaways that I took, which helped me on my journey through corporate America and to run such an institution, was the speakers that came on a weekly basis. I had the privilege of meeting Barbara Bush, Jesse Jackson, Mike Tyson, Michael Jackson, and you mentioned it. And each of these people had a story to tell, a story that motivated some of us to come so close to going to space. I wish that, and I hope, that when you guys leave here, moments like this will be your takeaways as well. Mr. Speaker, you are welcome to Academic City. I couldn't do a better justice than to allow Mr. Bawele to actually introduce you. You're a proud son of the soil. We are very proud to have you as our Speaker of Parliament, the first from an opposition party. Very closely over the years, that others in the region can emulate. So at this point, I would like to call Mr. Bawele, who has done a marvelous job till this moment, to have the honor of introducing the speaker. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. We are grateful. So for me as a young man, two things I always remember, or I would always remember about today's guest lecturer. The first one is his role as a parliamentarian and as a minority leader between 2001 and 2008. Somehow Parliament was unanimous with his name, how he held the then Kufuor government to account. As a young man growing up, it was admirable. The second thing is the day he asked the now majority leader which number he was, and that he, Mr. Speaker, was number 3. Those two I would always take with me forever. But ladies and gentlemen, students, it is my privilege to introduce our guest lecturer for today. Like President just said, he is the first Speaker of Parliament to be elected from an opposition political party, elected to be the Speaker of Parliament on the 7th of January, 2021, representing the 7th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. So before he even became a member of Parliament and served for 28 years in Parliament, our guest lecturer was called to the bar in 1982. I'm not sure many of us here were born at the time. He was called to the Ghana bar in 1982, served in many private law firms, reputable ones for that matter, until 1993 when he entered Parliament on the ticket of the National Democratic Congress, representing the people of now Nadoli Kaleo constituency. Within that period, our guest lecturer has served on many committees in Parliament. Like I did mention, he rose to become the minority leader from 2001 to 2008. From 2009 to 2010, he was a majority leader because power had shifted hands. Beyond being the majority leader, he also occupied other positions outside of Parliament, including being the health minister. He was also the Minister for Works and Housing at some point in time. And then later on, he became a majority leader before he left Parliament in 2021, or before he hung his boots before the elections in 2020. he was the second Deputy Speaker of Parliament. He's had a life spanning 28 years serving the Parliament of this country. And beyond that, he's had his influence in many other places outside this country as well. Currently, our Speaker of Parliament, who is the guest speaker for today, is the President of the Commonwealth Parliament Association. He's also the President of the African Speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, the list of things that our Speaker has done is very long. I can't stand here and say all the things about him. And because we are out of time, let's put our hands together and welcome our Speaker for today, the Right Honorable Alban Sumana, Kingsford, Bagbin.
Hello. Hi. I'm used to a few things. Excitement, you know. I want to see that you are excited. Not just see, I also want to feel it. That's how you can extract a lot from me. If you sit like we are at a funeral, I'm not sure I'll be motivated to give you more. But I'm not here to give to you. I'm here to learn from you. Are we together? Are you sure? Yes. Good. I must count myself as very, very, very honored to be here today. I don't know how many speakers in Ghana had this opportunity of interacting with the wealth of the nation. That is the youth. I don't like referring to you as future leaders. No, that's not correct. You are the wealth of the nation. The wealth of every nation is the youth. And that is why you don't need anybody to tell you that those countries that have missed the way and decided that procreation is out of the way are going to be extinct very soon. You don't need to tell you. And it's there for everybody to see that in about some 15 years' time, a country like France, mark it down, I'll say be alive anyway, will be a Muslim country. Do you believe it? Are you sure? In 50 years' time, let me see, will I see be alive? That one I'm not sure. But Europe will not be Europe as you see it today. It will be populated by only immigrants. There will be no indigenous European alive. Mark it down. When I saw this picture, I remarked, as a recent creation, you know. I think when I was delivering my paper at the Commonwealth Parliamentary Conference at the International Conference Center last week, as the president of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, an association made up of 180 parliaments in the world, with 2 more from Francophonie joining, Togo and Gabon. So we now have 182. And by your grace, I happen to be their president. A few years ago, just few years, sometimes it shocked me that I'm being referred to as old man. I really didn't know when it came. A few years ago, I was jumping all over this place as a student in Legon. I was a student leader, and you're lucky today, the transportation system, in spite of the crisis, is far, far better than those days. And so most of the time, we're doing pest pedis. Who understands that language? Pest pedis. You don't? Well, that is good homework. That is walking. Pest pedis. And one of my friends was so poor. At least I was better than him. Because we used to beat the ladies in the competition to join the trot row of those days. The wooden tracks, which had only the planks. And they were so high that you have to jump and hold to be able to climb. And the ladies were not as dressed as most of you are today, but a few of you are dressed that way. And so difficult for them to hold, the skirt and the rest, and to jump. They don't want to expose themselves. And so they were disadvantaged, and we were always beating them and getting the opportunity. So I used to climb them to attend law school. My friend had to walk from Legon to Makola to attend the classes, and then to walk back. So even when he got to the 4th year, he had to abandon the law course and go to Hustle in Libya to teach English. He ended up learning nursing in London. And that's where he ended. He's still there. So this is a rare opportunity to interact with you and to share some of these things with you. The purpose is to inspire and motivate you, to let you see that you are on a better pedestal. And if we used to talk about reaching up to the sky, you should be talking about going beyond the sky. But where we are today, I'm not too sure you are inspired to do so. I don't want to bore you with where we are today. You all know it. And I'm sure that's one of the main reasons why the organizers decided to use this topic, building the next generation of national leaders. There is a generation of national leaders today. But national leaders are the creation of a lot of things. Leaders as a whole. In fact, the topic of leadership is so wide, and there's so much material, there's literature on it. But most of it is so poisonous that when you read it, please reflect. It's generated by people who are not in our environment. And the type of leadership there is completely different from the type of leadership you need here. And so when you go to learn marketing, and the lecturer comes to teach you about how McDonald's is doing well or not doing well in North Korea, how relevant is that to you in Ghana? So, I don't know whether we are having education or miseducation. It's a very important topic. So when you talk about building, it means leaders are not just born. There's a debate on that. Some people think that some people are naturally born as leaders. But I'm a Catholic, and I believe in the Word. The Word says that we are created equal. And it's not just the Word. If you see a baby in Ghana today, and you go to California and see another baby, and then you move on to Papua New Guinea, wherever you go, the babies are what? The same. And they speak the same language. So how could one be born leader and not the other? Is it leadership? Is a creation, not just of God, but of a lot of things. First, the parents. Depending on the society. In our society, the female partner. And you know, all of you seated here, if they ask you to choose between your father and your mother, I know most of you will choose your mother as the leader that has inspired you, right? I do the same. My father had many women. And many children. And so leaders are mostly built. There are leaders everywhere, and you are all leaders. See there, you are all leaders. But this topic is talking about national leaders. When you go to your house, even your parents, your siblings, and the rest, because you are in this university, they see you as a leader. Not just academic, but they think that you have developed a capacity that can bring a change in their lives, in the family, and in the society you lead. So you are leaders. Those that you are older than, when they see you as a leader. And so you have leaders in business. You go to the house, between the man and the woman, sometimes I'm wondering why women are complaining that they are not given the opportunity. Hey, many men will tell you that it's the women in the house that run the house. I've been always taken care of by my wife. Not just feeding me, but even managing my life. Not just managing my life, even putting me to sleep. So sometimes you must understand why the women keep on calling their men baby. The men don't call their wives what? Men, do you call your wives babies? But they keep on calling you baby. Anyway, I know your minds are going somewhere. That's not what I'm talking about. So, leadership is not just national leaders. It has different stratas, structures, different areas. You have leaders, and he mentioned some, entertainment, in sports, everywhere. But this topic is about the national leaders. The national leaders are also many, but the leaders of leaders are the political leaders. Because all these leaders come together to elect them to lead all of them. And as one writer put it, leadership is cause. Everything else is effect. And I don't need to tell you, somebody like Jesus Christ or Prophet Muhammad, you know the effect they have on humanity. Buddhist, I don't need to tell you. I don't need to tell you the effect that our post-colonial leaders, or those who struggled to liberate us from the shackles of colonialism, the impact they have in our lives. Even as today, people see debate between Dr. Kwame Nkrumah and people talk about J.B. Dankwa and many of these things. Please, there are biases, too much of it in those write-ups. You need to read beyond what they have written, and you really get the facts. And so we're talking about national leaders. And clearly, talking about generation of leaders implies that you need a number. You don't need one or two people. And so even though leadership is cause, everything else is effect, then the need for you to understand as a leader that when the people you are leading don't want to be led, you cannot do anything. And therefore, there's a role to be played by followers. You can never be given what we call good governance unless you claim it. I'm an Aluta graduate. When I entered Legon in 1977, that was the Aluta period. Somebody is looking at the friend to ask whether even the mother was born. 1977. And what we met is worse than what you are in today. And so we said there must be a change. And the change cannot be through what is put in the legal framework, because all doors were shut. And instead of the change being evolutionary, we had to take the path of a revolution. And it is that change that has improved things up to date. If not, we're going down the drain. But we are told by Professor Frimpong that where we are today, in many economies in the world, it takes no less than 30 years to recover. 30 years of your life. And that calls for more action. We fought those days. Dear ones were lost. But we had to change the system through the use of force. Today, hindsight, there are critical voices about what happened. But if you were there in those days, where evening soup had to be labeled OK soup, that is a strong message. OK soup, which meant that the soap that we were using, they were not okay at all. And so to get market, this producer decided to name the soap what? For my soap is okay. So we had OK soap. Have you ever heard of it? You don't know what Ghana went through. Those days, you bought your good bronuau and you use some soap, and that's the end of your material. You know? But that created opportunities for us to develop. But that made Ghanaians at that time to start thinking. That's why they say in every challenge is an opportunity. And so as you move around in life, when you are meeting challenges, please, there are great opportunities. I was a cleaner after becoming a lawyer. I don't know how many of you will go cleaning offices these days, but I did. I was a factory worker after becoming a lawyer. Actually, not factory worker. I was a laborer at the industrial area. As a lawyer in 1983, practicing in Accra, I don't usually like working on the people because they limit my potential, and I want freedom to move and be creative, do what I want to create. I am not one of those who are falling into the dependency syndrome. It's somebody that must let you live. From 17, 18, please stop depending on people. You can't make it. You are here for one reason, not to listen to me. No. But at the end of the day, to have a state of mind that can be creative. And the creativity is not talking about just things, it's just talking about ideas. Idea. So when I meet young people, so I want to do this, I want to do that, but I don't have money. Say, please, you got it wrong. If you had money, there will be no need to do what you want to do. Why will you go struggling again when you have the money? And that is why, just think and see how many of the past national leaders have their children who you can count in any big positions, people who have made it. You know, can you count them? And so when you talk about J.B. Dankwa, then you are like, was he married? Has he got kids? Have you heard of them? Which other name can you recall it? Huh? Sorry? Who? Akwaje. Yeah. That was a very young, handsome lawyer. The youngest among the UGCC people. Those who call themselves United Gold Coast Convention. And came out claiming that they were the first party to be formed in Ghana. Is completely a lie. Please, take it from me. There's one young man who was called Augustus Kojo Thompson. Have you heard of him? But there's some road called Kojo Thompson Road. Huh? Or you don't know that one too? Hey, so what do you know at all? You know, I just... what you know is you know something? What you know is this one. Is that all? You know something more? Because I want to stop and then get questions from you to try and assess what you know. Well, the most important thing in life is for you to know who you are. That's the beginning. Who am I? The potentials in me, my strengths, my weaknesses, my likes, my dislikes. Some of you who want to dance like Michael Jackson, you remain in the shadow of Michael Jackson and nobody will buy you. Don't try to be like Honorable Bagbin. No. Use him as a stepping stone to be something greater, mightier, higher, better than him. Secondary school from 5. My headmaster asked me, "Oh, what is it that you want to be in future?" I said, "President." The students said, "President!" And I was a pioneer in one of the village schools. That time it was not that big. Was secondary school, now you call it senior high. And so you now have junior high, senior high. We used to call them secondary school. And it was for 5 years. And then after that, you do 2 years, sixth form, before you come to university. I don't know what led to all these changes and confusion. You know? And they immediately gave me a lady in the class. And that was the first lady. In fact, recently she discovered me. Since we left school, I never heard from her at all until I got a call. I didn't know the number. Then a message followed that she was the one. And since 1975. So I had to immediately, so excited, I got back to her. "My first lady, where are you?" She's now the old lady of one tutor in the Northeast. You know, and people were shocked, but that spurred me on. I never depended on anybody. I had lost my father anyway, and my mother had about 9 of us to take care of. 9. My father had left behind about those that we knew. I don't know about those. Five of them, five. Five women. And those we knew were 5. Those we didn't know, I don't know. It's now I'm writing on my family tree. And then I come across a name. So I ask, this person, who was the mother? Then my elder brothers will say, oh, our father, when so and so died, he inherited the wife and had this child. And I said, okay. As you know, you find it difficult to connect. And these days, you are lucky you know your father, you know your mother. And then you are just, some are talking about 2. Some are talking about the Blessed Trinity, 3. Well, these our ladies these days, they don't know it's not good to go for cesarean. So most of the time, they don't want to. When you go to the hospital, there's one very important unit. You can't forget. Because anytime you are passing there, you hear some noise. Push. Push. Those of you who don't want to push, and then always you want to go for, and they take. You can't go beyond 3. And I'm telling you from experience, that is not the best. The best is to push. Unless there is a problem. If there is no problem, I beg you, push. Not just because you want to go beyond the 3, but to enjoy life, the push is better. Well, when you do those cesarean operation, even after the 3rd or the 2nd you stop, you still be having pain there. And those of you who want to enjoy, you can't enjoy when there's pain. You understand? The age I've reached, these things, I can't hide them because we need to pass them on to you to enable you to take better quality decisions. That's what I'm telling you. Because you'll be having the pain. Even after that, you want to do more, but now the pain is there, you can't. And so, when I read the piece of Professor Frimpong Boateng, which was quite poetic, why are we here? I recollected the former Secretary General of the United Nations. I'm sure you have heard the great Dag Hammarskjöld. You haven't heard of him. And the way you responded, I'm sure you have never heard of that name. That was one of the best Secretary Generals of the United Nations. He left an indelible mark. There was something he said when he visited Africa. He said, and I quote him, "I found the present generation of African leaders to be of high seriousness, devotion, and intelligence. I'm sure in their hands, those countries will have a happy future." This was January 1960. Here we are today. What a prophecy. I'm sure we are very happy in Africa. One of the things you need when you are talking about national leaders is to have a strong central government. When you read the book by Francis Fukuyama, The Origins of Political Order. You know these ones, you can easily get them if you, I'm sure now you are not dealing with this hard prints in your libraries. You have the e-library. Yes, so you can easily order them. They are there. The Origins of Political Order by Francis Fukuyama. He's an American political scientist, in spite of the name. He's an American. They claim to be a nation of immigrants. I don't know which nation is not made of immigrants. Even Ghana here is a nation of immigrants. We all came from somewhere, from different places, and met here. And so some of you would have heard that the first people to settle in the land now called modern Ghana are the Guans. Yes, you heard of it? Yes, the Guans were made of 26 ethnic groups. 26. So you can start from Sisala in Upper West, to Gonja in Savannah, to Enzima in the Western region, to Inkonya in the Volta region, to Accra. The Guans were the first to settle in Accra. And so the name they were calling is Gua. That's how you go Ga. This one you pay me. Well, you can't get it in any book. All over, there were 26. In spite of all that, being the first settlers, they form about 2% of the population. So we are all immigrant nations. So Fukuyama, the name will give you an impression that he's from where? Japan. He is now an American. So he stated clearly that liberal states require a strong central government, a society solid enough to hold the government accountable. That's why I was talking about claiming. When you are talking about good governance, you have to claim it. And a strict adherence to the rule of law, irrespective of one's position or relationships. And so you realize that the colonial masters, you know two. The third one was not, even though they were the first to enter Africa, they were not too strong. And so two powerful nations took over. The first to enter Africa was the Portuguese. Okay? And so you have the name Elmina. And it means what? Sorry? The mine. So what do you say, how do you say it in Portuguese? Huh? Elmina. That's English. Yes? Lamina. And so if you say Lamina, what about Winneba? What's the meaning of Winneba? You know, to be leaders, you must be leaders of something, or you want to be global leaders. To be a global leader, you must have an identity. You must come from somewhere. And you must know where you come from. I just talked about knowing yourself. But you must also know your environment. Winneba means windy bay. Windy bay. And so the illiterate folks could not say windy bay. So they say Winneba. Our colonial masters, the British, for some good reason, it was not that they liked it. They were compelled to. They decided that it would be difficult for them to form strong central governments without the people. So they decided to rule us through the chiefs. Because they knew that we had traditional leaders and they were everywhere in the country. I hear people talk about amorphous societies without central leaders. They have to go back to school. During those conflict areas, when you are running away, at least somebody is leading you. So wherever you go to settle, whether you are 3 or 2, there is a leader there. And he's the authority. We didn't have societies that were leaderless. There were some that had numbers and that had a central system better than others. But it is not that they had 0, no. So they used that, and they used a system of indirect rule. So they were able to establish the rule of law using the chief to enforce it all around the areas in the country. That's one of the secrets of stability of the British colonies in Africa and everywhere. The French decided that for us, we are going to turn the black Africans into white, black French men and women. So they use a system called assimilation. So their system was only felt at the center where they were, the capitals. And it was not in the regions. Now, I'm sure you have an idea of why those states are collapsing and the terrorists have taken over. Well, you go to an area and there's no presence of government there, no government. And so the terrorists can overcome the communities, take over control, run schools, run hospitals, run every system there, and as they move on, they overthrow the government. So Burkina, 0. Mali, 0. Niger, 0. Authority. It's a quote I'm emphasizing so that you see typical examples of why that is necessary. And so that is one of the things that has kept us to this state. Our freedom fighters recognize it. They all play their roles. But the elite, as you know, is not only elite. Every society treasures its own. So the elites in writing the history focused on only those that were elites. But, you know, the men, as usual, in spite of the fact that they depend on women, they always want to marginalize them. And so when you read the history of Ghana, you don't know what role the ladies played for us to earn independence. But I can tell you, we had more Yas and Tawas, which you don't know. There was one lady called Ama Nkrumah. And when Kumasi was almost giving up, she, at a rally, took a blade, came out to the crowd, and slashed herself. And the blood was oozing. And she used the blood to smear all over her body. And said, "You, the men, if you won't stand up, we, the women, will stand up and fight the colonialists in Nkrumah. Woman, very strong lady that could mobilize the whole of Accra to support Dr. Kwame Nkrumah in the struggle to independence. But the politics we have in Ghana, she was poisoned to death in Volta region. And that is why those things were named after her. Very strong woman. So we have the women contributing a lot. And that is why not 10 women were elected to come into the National Assembly. 10. All the 10 women contributed immensely to our gaining independence in 1957. But when they went to elections, Mabel Dove Dankwa, Dankwa's first Ghanaian wife. He had some 2 ladies in London and had 4 children there. This one, whether you attend Achimota or Prempe, you don't know it. You can ask his family. But later on, they had problems, and she joined CPP and contested Ghana Rural to become a member of parliament. That was the first woman that contested elections at the constituency. Mabel Dove Dankwa. By the time I leave here today, my packet would have been full. But unfortunately, the prophecy of the UN Secretary General, I don't know whether it came to pass. But what I know is that we seem to be facing serious challenges now. Very, very serious challenges. Because after the new crop of liberators, I think a few things happened. It's just get us liberated and to not yet liberated politically, but economically, were killed. When I was in primary school, I was taught how to draw the picture of the Prime Minister of Nigeria, Tafawa Balewa. You never heard of his name. And how he was murdered. Then Patrice Lumumba. So the leaders became timorous, afraid. It affected them. And see happening today. No wonder you have this revolution in the French countries. Because you read the pacts they entered into France, or with France, before they got independence. It's completely unacceptable. I have not minced my words anywhere I went. Whether it's Macron or whoever, I say it. In fact, when I went to support John Kerry, the then presidential candidate of the Democratic Party, in his election to be president of the US, we lost the election. He was a member of our group. We call it Parliamentarians for Global Action. He was a very active member there. And then he decided to contest. So I went to support his campaign in the US. When he lost, I had to console him. And then to say that one of the challenges we had was that he was not handsome. Oh, yes. It's not only in Ghana that you people go electing handsome and beautiful people. Oh. Even in the US and Britain and all those, it happens. Gordon Brown did not become prime minister because he was not from England. The English people would not want any person not being from England to become prime minister. That's why the current prime minister is limping. And they are calling quickly for elections so that they can vote him out. Why? Because his background is from India. So the tribalism is not only in Ghana. There is racial discrimination all over there. So global leadership is in crisis. And that is why the book Democracy in Crisis. You can note it down. Democracy in Crisis. You need to read that one too. We have leaders now. If I may quote our African elders, they say, if your vision is for a year, plant wheat. If your vision is for a decade, plant trees. And if your vision is for a lifetime, plant people. So the attempt that is being made in this university is to have a vision for a lifetime. And this topic is for us to plant people. You are the people we are here to plant. And I'm sure this interaction will be a lifetime for all of you. I had that when I was in school, a few people came around, and as of today, I still recollect that. I recollect when I was doing my master's in Jimpa, we used to have some of these lectures, leadership series, and I learned a lot from those leaders. Your president mentioned a number of them, and they came to give us lectures on their lifestyle and how they made it. None of us was born with a silver spoon in our mouth. From those days I talked to you about in the secondary school, I had to struggle on my own to educate myself and to become a lawyer. And when I was called to the bar in 1982, I decided that I was not going to be employed by any person. I was going into private legal practice. Nowhere else, Accra, the capital. And I was the only person of northern extraction practicing law in Accra. I enjoyed it, but I had to take critical decisions. An unexamined life is not worth living. So at every stage of your life, you have to sit, meditate, examine yourself, and take critical decisions. You must have firm convictions. And so at some time, I realized that because the money was coming in, almost every evening as a young lawyer, we met at bars where we take one each, repeat, and then we are debating. I realized it was influencing my legal practice. So I took a decision not to drink alcohol, period. It never happened again. As of today, I don't drink alcohol. And that helped me very, very much in my profession. I was able, within the early years, to make a mark by doing cases against all the big gurus that you ever heard of in Ghana, the Rocha and all those things. I did cases against them. I won the cases. And that marketed me a lot. And so a number of critical national cases are handled, not only in the law courts, but even in the public tribunals, where there was an attempt to include the inputs of the ordinary citizens in the administration of justice. Today, they give you an impression that those were kangaroo courts. Well, anybody who has studied law or who had read history is aware that everywhere in the world, these things happened, and they're still happening today. But because there's some indoctrination, some people's minds have been captured by what they see outside, and they think those are the best. But any society that does not have values of its own. That you, in your culture, you can't trace elements that are dear to your heart, that you believe that they are the best. You always remain slave to those that you think are better than you. Because you see them as superior, and you are struggling to be like them. So how can you be better than them? These are some of the things that we have to change. And that's why at the launch of the National Service Scheme, I made it clear to everybody there that when I see an educated person of whatever status trying to behave like he is superior to any other person, I know you didn't go to the right school. I told you from the very beginning, we are all created equal. The difference is in where you are created. And so the influence of your father and mother, the influence of your family, of the community in which you live, of central government, and you yourself, you have a responsibility. So if you are a sadist, and you only see negativity, and you always see that every problem is caused by somebody else, not you yourself, and you move around talking about family people, this problem happening to me is from the family. You don't think it's from yourself. I beg you, you will never progress. But if you know values, and you are positive, and you are looking forward, nothing can stop a determined person from achieving what the person wants. So when I go back and pick my books, when I was in the C form, almost all the cover pages, what I wrote there was, determination determines destiny. That spurred me on. Determination determines destiny. 3 things. And so when I got this far, I thank my stars, I thank my God, because sometimes, you know what our president, our first president, Prime Minister, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah said, without the hands of God, nothing can be done in this world. And so definitely, I'm happy that God steered my ship, and this is where I am miraculously, somebody leaving Parliament to go and have a rest, and one of my focus was to establish an institute, which I'm still working on, the Institute for Parliamentary Studies, so that we can reach out to many people, let them learn to know what is in Parliament before they come, because as an experienced person in Parliament, a lot of the new entrants really get a shock. Because the picture that is painted outside is different from the picture that is inside. And so when they come in and they see that, this is not what I want, the contribution becomes almost zero. The next election, many MPs don't contest. And because you are reading what our competitors, my media colleagues, please, the politicians are not your competitors. No. You are an important bridge between the leaders, national leaders, and the people. Present what is right, not what is wrong. And one of the reasons why Lee Kuan Yew succeeded in Singapore was to sit down with the media and work out a system that talked about Singapore and nothing else. Here we are, parties have taken papers, sponsoring them, and distorting everything. And you are being fed with nothing but untruths. Me, this boy, that one, I won't take it from any person. I'm lucky. I'm well placed. I worked with His Excellency Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. When he came to Parliament in 1997, I was chairman of the Committee of Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. He was my ranking member. 1997 to 2000. We know each other very well. We work together. When I was leader of the opposition, he was a minister of state. These days, you think that ministers are higher than MPs. You are turning the democracy upside down. You didn't vote for ministers. You voted for MPs. Every day you are knocking their doors, not ministers. Because the ministers are appointees of the president, and their loyalty is to the president, not to you. Who are fighting for you? The members of parliament. How do you see them? Nothingness. How can you get something from nothing? How many of you are doing or did, we used to call it English literature. Now you call it literature in English. How many read literature in English? Did you read King Lear? No? Shakespeare's play. Where he asked his daughter. He loved the daughter so much. And he asked the daughter, what do you want? What do you want me to do for you? And the daughter said, nothing. He said, nothing will come out of nothing. So, if your MPs are nothing, nothing will come out of nothing. So you go and queue and you struggle and you vote for them, and then you level them down, and they are not effective. So they rather look at the people that you're giving that much power to for survival. And that's why every MP in government is struggling to catch the eye of the president and not the eye of the speaker, which is what they are to do when they are on the floor. So they get up, and those of you watching me, you hear that, you have heard or seen me attacking some MPs. You know, say, please, I hate academic dishonesty. You know what you are saying is not true. Why are you saying it? So, Mr. Speaker, I say, please, is it true or it's not true? What you are saying? I say, oh, Mr. Speaker. So I say, you are part of the academic dishonest persons. Mr. Speaker, it's true, I agree. But, you know, I know what. So it's very, very important in building national leaders. I'm ending there. Because what your parents do, the family, the community, the state, and yourself determine the quality of national leaders. And every society deserves the leaders that it has. And so what we have today is our product. We produce them. If we want to remove them today, we can do so. But if you are only doing political patronage, praise singers, definitely this is the outcome you are going to. You reap what you have sown. And so, to grow the next generation of national leaders, all these stakeholders I mentioned must stand up and work together. I can tell you, if you want to enjoy life, don't go for money. Go for people. It's not only the Holy Quran, but only the Holy Bible also says it. The lust of money is the beginning of all evil. And nobody I have known who had lust for money and got money enjoyed that money. It's other people who come and enjoy it and insult you. The great Mansa Musa, who is the richest or wealthiest person that ever lived on earth, from Africa. Mansa Musa, you've heard of him? Yeah. He didn't go for money. He was in the country of gold. And so he had gold. And anywhere he passed, he changed the economy. The great Mansa Musa. And that is where we came from, Ghana. And now we are occupying the land of gold. The first exporter of gold in the world is Ghana. Yet, you are in a debt situation. So, what is the problem? The problem may be that these stakeholders are not playing their roles. You are seated here as students. You have a role to play. You are not playing that role. And you are blaming others. You talk about trust. The national leaders have lost it. If your followers don't trust you, you can't achieve anything. It's not the national leaders who produce, it's the followers who produce. And the followers do so because they believe and they trust the leaders. That what we produce, you apply it to our benefit. So they work and they will produce it. So when they don't trust you, and you give them any command, they only pretend. And they don't work, and you don't get anything. That is the state in which we are. National leaders must claim back, they must claw back, they must earn the confidence and trust of the people to be able to move forward. If you don't do that in Ghana, forget it. These terms we use, democracy, or multi-party democracy. How is it defined? You are struggling to go to Dubai. Do they have multi-party democracy there? Do they have parties there? It's a kingdom. But you are struggling to go there. Why? Because the leadership have put a system in place different from what our colonial masters came and implanted on us. And the followers trust them. And they are working with them. And you are seeing a difference in their lives. That is what we need. And so when you go to copy slavishly the system from the United Kingdom, which was developed through their history and their tradition, which is different from yours, definitely you know you'll be in trouble. And that's where we are. And so when I took over as speaker and decided that I was not going to wear the gown of the British crown, because what our speakers were wearing are the apparels of the British crown. Because their speaker was a representative of the crown. And so he has to always dress like the king or queen and preside over the house that they call House of Commons, common people. And then those that are seen as higher in society, they created another house called House of Lords, class society. And so they wear those gowns. And then we just took over. And even though we are in hot weather, and the learned people are always in black suits and going to court and say they are learned. Why? Because the only thing they learned is that the lawyers wear black suits. And so even when they are walking on the street in hot sun, They are in black suit. When you ask him, he said, my learned friend, what learning is this? And you want to develop? You are not using cotton, silk. Those are the things. So I said, no, I would prefer to wear the apparels of my leader. Those things, and these days, I was crowned Saifullah by all the Muslims in Ghana. And that's why you saw me in that high, I don't know how to, it's a crown, eh? I was adorned, and I used it to preside. This is Ghana. And so when I sit there, that is the Parliament of Ghana, not the House of Commons. Even today, the House of Commons, they don't wear the gown. The Speaker doesn't wear the gown. We must change our minds. We have to liberate ourselves from mental slavery. If we're not able to do that, forget about development. They will continue to exploit us. And this relationship is symbiotic between Africa and the world. It's symbiotic. We can survive without them. They can survive without us. But there will be challenges. We need each other. So when they come threatening, don't be threatened. No. Losing a life is not anything. Because after all, if I die today, you come and join me. By the time you come, who is not going to die? In my local language, you hear people call kumpi. That is it. Who won't die? All of us will die. So if I go before you, by the time you come, I'm a senior. And many of you are deceived that there is no seniority in heaven. Please, you have to read the Bible again. Because even when we want to start prayers, we say God the Father, God the Son, and God the Holy Spirit. So the protocol list shows that one is higher. You don't start by saying God the Holy Spirit, God the Son, before you go to God the Father. So even in heaven, there's seniority. That's why you have the archangels. So by the time you come, as a senior, I'm in charge of the entrance. Then I don't know whether you come or you go back. So I will just end here and then listen to you. I'm sure you are more interested in other areas than what I've just shared with you. But it's very, very important for us to always reflect on what our senior brother Kofi Annan said, the former UN Secretary General. And what he said is this: the world is not ours. The earth is not ours. It is a treasure we hold in trust for future generations. I often hope we'll be worthy of that trust. Trust here is not talking about only financial. And when you hear people talk about accountability or corruption, they're only talking about monetary, financial accountability or corruption. Trust here involves everything. Your hope, your aspiration, your future, you put in the hands of that leader. In Ghana, we added the land, the minerals, and we say we are giving them to the president to hold in trust for all of us. So when we are holding them to account, We are not just talking about financial accountability. How are our lands now? Galamsey. The Galamsey operators will even come with the gold and sit on TV and show us. This is it. This is me. I'm that rich. Nothing happens. Even GRA will not go to them to pay tax. What kind of country is this? Nothing now is done to any person in power that breaks our laws or whatever. No, nothing happens. And everybody just quiet and watching and expecting that, hey, ebeye ebahi. You think things just happen like that? It's people who make them happen. Please, you must all wake up. If not, you have no future. And so it's important that as leaders, we make conscious effort to build a critical number of you for national leadership. It's a very satisfying job when I see my students that I have produced and they're in various positions, whether they are insulting me or not, I'm happy. I derive a lot of satisfaction from it. Because I expect gratitude from the human being. It's God that has stated it. You get blessings from him, not from the human being. And so I can assure you that after you help 100 people, it's only one that may show gratitude to you. Particularly today's youth that the parents have not taught the importance of gratitude. So you pay somebody's fees, he finishes university, he comes to you, he wants a job. If you fail to look for the job for the person, all what you've done is nothing. He goes around destroying you. If you make the mistake and get the job for the student, he comes back to you, he wants money to rent accommodation. If you fail that one too, you are in trouble. If you get the accommodation, he comes back to you, he wants money to buy bed. What I'm telling you are experiences we went through. Fail in that and you see what will happen to you. If you succeed in all that and he's working there and he's not being promoted, he comes to see you. That he's worked for this number of years, no promotion, please intervene for me. Fail in that, you are finished. There is nothing good about you. And one of the things I learned very early is to be grateful to those who even do micro interventions that benefit you. Immediately you do that, God himself multiplies your blessings. Take it from me. The person that you even show the gratitude will be spurred on to do more for you. And I've done it to many of those that have shown gratitude to me. As I'm talking to you now, immediately I finish, I'm flying to Tamale. I'm going to commission a new private hospital built by Ghanaians, equipped by Ghanaians, and to be run and managed by Ghanaians. And that hospital, we want to make it one of the best in Ghana. We do this not for my benefit. Many of my colleagues haven't reached my age, and they are gone. Even the early leaders that we talk about never got to my age, and yet they died. And so if I have reached this age, and I'm still looking so young, what do I need again? Just to only share what you have all invested in me. I am speaker because Ghanaians said I should be speaker. As the introduction has shown, my party is not in government. And in parliament, they have at least -1 MP. So the first time we are having a hung parliament. 137, 137, one independent. And the independent member is doing business with the government party. And that is why they are majority caucus. I have never said MPP majority. MPP don't have majority in parliament. No. There's no majority party in our parliament. But there's a caucus that is majority. Because 137 plus 1 is 138. The other party that didn't get the independent still remains 137. So they are minority caucus. I have to handle this. It's not only that one. God made it possible. MPP, 20 women. 20 honorable women. NDC, 20 honorable women. 40. That one too. That's what I have. And I'm not in government, I am in the opposition party. And for good reason, our government, our people, I should say not government, our people decided that we want a speaker that in the performance of his functions is impartial. Not neutral, but impartial. There's no neutrality in this. Those of you who are pretending that you have no position in this, then that is a serious crime in the military. Indecision. You know indecision? Yes, in the military, if you are charged with this and you are struggling to take decision, the next person will just finish you and take over command. It was dangerous. And recently, you know what is happening in the world. The world is getting into a more riskier, murkier, and dangerous situation. And you should not take anything for granted. We are going to take efforts to do so. And so what I was going out to do was to use that institute to start growing future leaders. And so this topic is so dear to me. But what I have here is just guides. If the university wants a write-up on it, I will do so comprehensively for you so that you can get through. I thank you once again. And may God bless our homeland, Ghana, and continue to make it great and strong. Thank you so much.
Please have a seat. Thank you so much, the Right Honorable Speaker. So because of time, I will just allow only 2 questions from the students. Only 2 questions. So if you have a question, kindly put up your hand. Yes, that's the first question. And then the second one. Oh, thank God it's only 1. So please, okay, 2. So quickly come forward and then you ask your question. Very brief. Just a question per student. Okay. So you can ask your question.
Please, good morning, members. And good morning, my chairs. Inshallah, I'm the person of Usman Abdul Latif, a level 100 electrical and electronic engineering student. Please, I just have a small question for my speaker, inshallah. Honorable, please, the Parliament of Ghana has been mutilated beyond recognition. Why did I say this? The topic is leadership. And the leadership in Ghana has been mutilated beyond recognition that no one understands what we are doing now. We know that a leader, there are qualities of a leader. And the leader is you must have empathy, dedication, and other things. But now it has been changed to your money, your power. And we those who don't have money, please, Honorable, how will you help us to also become leaders in Ghana? Thank you very much.
Hello. Good morning, Mr. Speaker. Please, my name is Benjamin Belder, and I study artificial intelligence. Please, my question is about corruption. We are all aware that corruption is a significant impediment to the development of this country. I want to know what the parliament or what measures are the parliament putting in place to combat corruption within its rank and the government institutions. Thank you.
Hi, sir. My name is Joshua. I'm a student here in Academic City. One of my favorite leaders is K. Buzia. And then I wanted to know your perspective of his style of leadership. That's it. K. Buzia. Yes, please.
Thank you very much.
I should have actually listened to you, not taking so much time to compel you to listen to me. I apologize for that. Mutilated leaders. You know Osman Danfodio? Have you ever read of him? Jesus. You are ACity Fulani. Go and read about Osman Danfodio, who created the Fulani Empire in northern Nigeria. There are various types of leaders. You have what we refer to as situational leaders. Situational. We have what you refer to as visionary leaders. You have what you refer to as servant leaders. There are different types of leadership. And you have leadership in crisis. Depending on the circumstances, the environment, a leader erupts. And I gave you two scenarios about the leader being the cause and everything else being the effect. But I told you that if the followers decide that they will not go by the details of the leaders, what should the leader do? As a former member of parliament, who did a lot for students, well, that was my focus. I said, look, without education, I couldn't have been a member of parliament. So my number one priority was education. And truly, by the time of 28 years, there's complete transformation in my constituency. In fact, my constituency was that time it was a district. That was the last district in the country, the poorest in the country. After a research done by a South African team, and they used some benchmarks, we scored 0. By the time I left, the number of districts had increased anyway, district assemblies, and we're around 15th in the country. 1-5. And so I did a lot for students. But because of what you just stated, and the issue of corruption being raised, even when I send money for them to come and vote, when they receive the money, many of them don't come to vote. They use it for their purposes in the universities. That one, you don't see it as corruption. That is not corruption. I gave a long lecture on corruption at UDS, Wa campus. And I told the lecturers, sex for grades is corruption. And they were shocked. And we have so many people coming with first-class degrees. They can't even speak English. Unfortunately, that's one of the challenges in our country. No society develops using the language of another person. You have to use your own language. That's what is better understood. The essence of the words are different from that of the English language. Democracy thrives in an enlightened society. When you have a large population that are uneducated, they don't know what the government is or politics or democracy is. This is where you come in. These are the results. It's not the politicians that are corrupt. We have a lot of religious leaders in parliament, pastors, bishops, and this, and they're all over. We have so many lecturers, and so many of you, after you finish school, struggle to come to parliament. I was student leader, I told you, and from that background, we criticize a lot of the political leaders. If you decide to go to behave like the pig in the mud, there is no way that mud will not stick on you. The corruption in Ghana is systemic. I'm sure you don't understand that. If we really understand that, it means to be able to solve that corruption, you have to change the system. That is all. Because the human being that you put in the office must go by the system. And when I advertise for people to come for interview to various positions in parliament, and I get kings, and I get leaders, and I get pastors, and everybody's calling and telling you that, please, help this my son for me. Help this my daughter for me. That when you refuse, then your life is threatened. This is the society in which we are. But I gave you the example of Osman Danfodio. It was a very good lesson. The Fulanis have always been a well-organized group. They are large numbers in Africa, and they are a potent force. One of their leaders was Osman Danfodio. Corruption, I really touch on it apart from this response in my presentation. And it's really a challenge to our society. How we do it, as I stated, change the system. That system cannot be changed by any person apart from us. I told you I'm a Luther graduate, and when the system was not working well that time, we changed it. What prevents you from changing the system today? You don't want to die. Yet you want to go to heaven. If you don't die too, you can't go to heaven. You know? So you have to work towards it. It's not just a matter of rhetoric every day. Why? There's corruption. There's corruption. So it's the talk that will change it. is action. And I believe in that. When I changed the things that I did in Parliament, you know the pressure that came on me? I resisted it. You need confident, courageous, trustful leaders to change things in Africa. You think all the things that PLO, Lumumba has been doing is not under threat? But he goes around from country to country lecturing, and he talks about all these things. But there are a few things that we must change. First, one, we must know where we are going. Before we know where we are going, we must know where we came from and where we are. Then we decide where to go. Many of you seated here don't know anything about your family or your community or your society or Ghana. You don't know. So you don't even know who you are. So if you don't even know where you are, then how can you determine where to go? So as of today, what is the national vision? The national development vision of Ghana is what? Do you know it? There are only guides in our constitution, which was to help us develop a national vision. Now, we're not talking about individual leader having a vision. This is not the situation now we have. The situation now we have in Ghana is team leadership. I'm a speaker. I don't know it all. That's why the gentleman with me here, the introduction gave you the areas that I thought they should come and strengthen with me. And so this is an accomplished ambassador. Diplomacy, international relations. He knows it. And he worked in very critical areas at the United Nations in many countries. So it's a weak area for me. Come and strengthen that. And I give him the opportunity. Lord is doing his PhD. And they are into research communication. So it's not my area. You are all made to believe that a leader must be a good communicator. I don't know whether you want to be Julius Caesar. But you know our tradition. The king scarcely speaks. He's a linguist. Right? Because that's a linguist that is educated to communicate properly. The king is the final authority. When he speaks, it's law. And so if you now decide to give all to one person, you are creating a dictator. I don't know how many of you heard of Alban. I don't know if I go to this history, you can understand it. There was one of our great sons who really is credited with starting the educational foundation, not only in Ghana, but in Africa. I was trying to tell you his full name. Who got the signal? Who? You don't have it? I said Alban. What is the other name? Sorry? Michael. I can't hear you. Achimota, how was it started? You don't know. You see where we are. That's where we are. I don't know those in the educational sector who decided that history is not important. And therefore, they decided to marginalize history. That's the disservice to this country. Great disservice. Agri was the one who led to the establishment, then understood and supported by the then Governor General of the Gold Coast, Gisbert, to start the Prince of Wales College, which is now Achimota. He is the one that was funded, together with a team, to tour the whole of Africa to educate Africans about the importance of education. With the Fools Foundation, they funded, and he toured all this continent. Ghanaian. His father was a linguist. To King Amomu IV of Salt Pond. He was born at Choko. He did Ghanaian. And that is why people keep on quoting him. I'm sure you've come across the quote. But when you educate a man, you educate an individual. But when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. This was what our colonial masters quoted, and we just took that along. But that is not the full quotation. He says that if you want to keep people in subjugation, servitude, and slavery, you educate only the men. And then he continued. Because when you educate a man, you educate an individual. But when you educate a woman, you educate a nation. That is a full quotation. Agree. And when he gave a lecture in South Africa, in fact, he was prevented from entering the hall because he was black. And it was for whites only. And they said they were coming from America, so they thought he was white. And so when he landed and tried to enter, the police stopped him. Said, no, it's for whites. So he was there standing until the organizers waited for a long time. The keynote address, the speaker was not there, so they went to the entrance, and there he was standing. They said, oh, why are you? We are waiting on you. Say, talk to your security men. They said, whites only. And then the security men were shocked that a black was going to give them a lecture. And he entered. And when he finished his lecture, and the journalists swam on him, on the audience, they asked one of them, and said, damn his color. The man is an angel. That's how great. That's how great our nation is. His children became ambassadors in the US. He's being celebrated in the US up to date. You don't even know him. You don't celebrate him. You only talk about the later day saints. Wilhelm Amo. That's how they call him in German, but it's William Amo from Western region. Became a professor and could speak 7 foreign languages: Japanese, Latin, French, English, Chinese. Excellent scientist who did metaphysics, mathematics. The most difficult subjects, he always excelled. Google celebrated him in 2020. Germany celebrates him always. Ghanaians don't know of him. If you go to Elmina Castle, his grave is there. And so when Osofudazi and his group used to sing, we are going, heavens know where we are going. We know we will. You don't know where you are going. Only the heavens know where you are going. And what did our journalist Amut said? If you don't know where you are going, you will never get there. That is what's happening there. We don't have a national vision. And anytime any government comes and starts a national vision well drafted, There's change of governance. That's the end of it. So we had Vision 2020 during Rawlings' time, which was approved by Parliament. I was there. We debated and approved it, and we were working on the first phase. Then there was change of government. President Kufuor came. Say Vision 2020 is NDC vision, jettisoned. They started talking about Vision 2015, Vision 2010, Vision da-da-da-da-da-da. Nothing happened. When Mills came, they started by talking about Vision 50 years. Oh, there was debate that is too long. They reduced it to 40. And Nimoy Thompson, they worked together with others and did vision for 40 years for this country. 2016, NDC lost election. 2017, MPP took over. Where is it? Jettisoned. Then they brought my former lecturer and co, who are at the National Development Planning Commission. Now, I don't think he's there again. Professor Stephen Ade, you know, of Jimpa fame. Where is it? We're not dealing with vision of individuals now. We're dealing with vision of the nation, the national vision. And it's through the national vision that you have medium-term development program. And through that, you have annual budgets. You can have more than 1 year. If your medium term is about 10 years, you can come out with a budget for 3 years. So that it's not a ritual that every year we have to be doing budget. That is short-sightedness. And everybody, including the academia, everybody is quiet. People are watching. It's politicians. No. The politicians deal with the finalization of policy. Okay? The word politics is from policy. And the policy is applied to polity. And the polity is what we call a community or society of people. That is what is referred to as polity. And it's from that polity that you have politics, the science and arts of leading the polity. And those who do that are called politicians. So all of you, you are politicians. I was a student, lawyer practicing. I decided to go and serve. So I have the tag politicians. Because you have not done that, then you are not. So I should carry the burden. No. So my brother, we must stop the blame game and play our roles. And here, as you said, do the same. Make sure that when you finish the university, you have the capacity. You are telling me the qualities of a leader. It depends on what type of leader. You don't expect the church leader to be the same as a political leader. Neither do you expect the military leader to be the same as the person taking care of cattle. It's not. And please, the practical aspect, which is what we are doing now, is most important than the theoretical. What you go and do by rote learning, chew, pour, pass, and forget. And that's the bane of our underdevelopment. Because all what we have in our heads now, we know more about London than your village. I've asked a lot of you about their parents. Oh, I'm told my mother is from 2 days ago. Somebody came and told me that the grandfather said they were from the north, but they don't know where. And they grew up in a buri. And they don't even know the language. They gave them local names, but they have forgotten. Huh? Our names have meanings. And their names, I don't know. What's the meaning of John? But we prefer that. So there's a lot of things we have to do. The last question. Sorry, I didn't capture that. Oh, Prof. Very interesting. There's a booklet written by Professor Danso Boafo on the profile of Professor Kofi Abrifa Busia. I think you should all try to get copies and read. I know that the family got angry and were taking him to court and all those things because they thought he didn't get it right. And I did my research myself, and I think he got it right. It's just that people don't want their bad side to be known. But I don't think that is right. Nobody is perfect. Nobody is perfect. So it's good for us to know the good and the bad. His name was Frederick Joseph Bosnia. Do you know that? Gentlemen, do you know his name was Frederick Joseph? Yes. Because he was taken by the church. And he grew up in the church. And that is why his knowledge about the Bible is deep. And that's why his English language is impeccable. And that's why he's so brilliant that he earned a scholarship to go and study abroad. Those are shining examples of him. And when he came down and J.B. Danko had collapsed, he was the alternative leader who took over the mantle. And so when NLM was formed, he was called to lead it. And you know NLM was formed by the chief linguist of Otumfuo, called Bafo Osei Akoto, whose son is just the immediate former minister of Food and Agric, who is now contesting to be the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party. Yes, brilliant professor. He wrote a few things, but his learning is that of English. And so what he knew was the British system. And that was his commitment, and that was what he wanted to implement with some small variations. Unfortunately, that was not well marketed in Ghana. And I don't think that for me, I know this life. For me, I don't ascribe to that. I want homegrown policies, things that are relevant to our situation, things that respond to the challenges that we face here, not what is in UK. And so, even though he made changes, even in the military high command, the one that he thought that could protect him to govern was the one that led the coup to remove him, Colonel Ike Achampong, who became General Ignatius Kutu Achampong. So yes, he has very good sides, but I had a problem with him, and I've always stated it, that he was a contradiction in terms. After being brought up by the church, when he was going abroad to study, he swore an affidavit and changed his name from Frederick Joseph to Kofi Abrifa. Nothing strikes you. A product of the church changes completely. No Christian name again. There must be something. He was one of those who fought hard for the creation of the Brown Ahafo region because of the so-called superiority complex of the Asantes versus the Bono Ahafo. But at the time that Nkrumah was creating it, he opposed it. And in 1944, when he was doing his thesis, he wrote on the chieftaincy of the Ashanti Kingdom. These are facts. Nobody can contradict me in this. You don't know your leaders. You don't know your history. And you read the perspectives of other people who... You've heard and you've read one of his daughters, Ama Frema Pujia, always very critical of this government. Or you have not. You are so much glued to your books that you don't know about it. You who asked the question, have you read about here? Amafrima Bujia? Yes, that was my classmate. We did law together. We were called to the bar the same day. We took pictures. I still have them. You know? Why is she critical about it? But you know Professor Bujia and the rest. Yes. That was his main wife. The other one was a second wife. Do you know about that? So there are so many things. If you want all our leaders, come to me. The Parliament knows. Sometimes I sit and lecture them about this history and other things, and people go and read. Because, as I said, if you don't know who you are, you won't be able to develop yourself. We need to know these things properly. Don't allow those guys to mislead you. Yes, there was C.K. Donko, who contested and beat him a number of times at that constituency, who wrote some things about him that were not exactly correct. I read that one too, okay? But when he was entering into the National Assembly, it was the Ashanti Kingdom that made him enter there. And that is why Kruba Odusei used to attack him. Anytime he got up to debate, he says, look, this is a house of representatives. People elected us to come here. You, who elected you to come here? Just to what? Heckle him. You know, they are all in the Hansard. So these are the things. And as I said, I encourage you, don't even take what I am telling you today. Go and dig deeper into what I've told you and to establish the truthfulness or otherwise of what I've told you. But I have read enough, because a leader is a reader. A leader is, yes. Well, you need that knowledge to be able to build that capacity so that you are not misled, so that you can take critical decisions. Others will advise you, but the buck stops with you. They know, I know. Go to study in UK. Was that in the early 50s? The father of our current president was the chairman of the scholarship board. Let anybody contest me. The documents are there. So was it easy or difficult to get scholarship to go there? So if you realize all that family, the study is in what? UK. And that's where they know more than any other part of the world. So it did not start today. I ended there.
Thank you very much. So, just so Mr. Speaker knows, this is being carried live on all the platforms of the university. There's another class 4 with students watching you across this class as well. So this is being telecasted live across the world. Thank you so much for all the insights that you've given us. For me, as the coordinator of this program, what I'm taking away is the fact that the unexamined life is not worth living, and that man must know thyself. Thank you very much. So I'll call on Marjorie to give us a vote of thanks, and after that, the president of the university and then the vice president will do the donation on behalf of the university for us.
So on behalf of the students, the staff, the faculty of Academic City University College, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to the Speaker of Parliament, the Right Honorable Alban, Bagbin, for taking time to speak to us today on the topic of building the next generation of national leaders. Your speech was inspiring, exciting, and thought-provoking. You challenged us to think about what it means to be a leader, and you gave us practical advice on how to face the global leadership crisis. We are especially grateful for the importance of determination, devotion, earning the trust of the people, and service to others. We are confident that your words will stay with us long after you have left today, and our commitment to building future leaders is something that will remain with us forever. As the wealth of the nation, we say thank you for being here again. Now, I would like to invite the president and the vice president of the university to present some gifts as a token of our appreciation to you. Thank you.
All right. All right. So, so let me have the privilege of inviting the Right Honorable Speaker of Parliament to stage, please.
This is a painting from one of our students of you to you.
The student got it right.
And his name is Kinsley, but unfortunately he's not been able to join us today.
All right. Thank you so much. So, Mr. Speaker, so we are very grateful for the time spent with us. Right out of here, there will be a tree planting exercise to be done by a very quick one for 5 minutes maximum. But before we leave, the media would like to take a picture of the entire class sitting the way we are. And then after, I think another one standing, if they wish. Yes. Okay, the students should stand while Mr. Speaker and the dignitaries, please remain sitting, please. Mm-hmm. Okay, okay. Very much. So let's remain standing while Mr. Speaker takes this, his leave.